So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next segment of the Quantum Leap business show that's going around the world, 24 hours, non-stop, here on the 24th of June, and with an exhibition that goes for 2 weeks afterwards. I've managed to get hold of some very well-known and leading business lights from all over the world, and it's my pleasure today to welcome Dr. Lee, the head of BBX Holdings, into our show today. Welcome, Dr. Lee. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, it's good afternoon here, John, and I'm really glad that after knowing you for 8 years, you are still as entrepreneur and surprising as ever.
Thank you very much.
Digital framework.
That certainly is a compliment.
Yes.
Dr. Lee, you're coming to us from the Asia region today, Singapore, and I know that you've got a very large empire of family-related businesses, so it's nice to have another aspect of that in our show. And I know that family is at the heart of your life. You sit as a board member of the Family Business Network Asia. You're in a chapter of FBN International with 4,000 business families in that network. And you're a second generation of your family business. Can you perhaps share some of the joys and challenges of being the matriarch in a family business of multiple generations?
Yeah, I'm glad to share with you because it's quite part of my life now. And well, I want to share with you the joys and the challenges. Making a comfortable decision that we have support from family members is the most important part of running a family business. And that's also the challenge. Every family member come in with a different hat on when they make decisions. Can we really separate business from family? In a sense, yes, because some are owners, some are in the management, but they don't own shares. And some are families, but they have huge influence, yes, although they are not in the management. So in a family business, we face different types of issues. So what happened is we will put in governance for family members, for the management. And I think the best part of all is we have this code of conduct whereby we like to treat our staff as much as possible with the same code as family members. Yeah, so yes, I'm being the second generation, in what we call a senior gen, since my father, who is first gen, has passed away. So with my 5 siblings, we sit together and decide what is best for the family. But at the end of it, it's still business.
Yes.
And it's still family in harmony.
So, and time has stood. You haven't got to the point where everybody's arguing and at war with each other. So I know you've got a very close family. So, and you've got so many varied interests too, which must make it difficult, from some of your agricultural interests to your hotel interests and your tech. It's just such a wide field. So it must take a lot just to keep up with it all.
I think good communication and spotting good talent.
Yes.
The most difficult part is spotting talent that has the same passion. Yeah, because as a family business, we have a longer decision making and results looking forward. So the passion is important. We will support somebody who is passionate and work on the projects we are on. Yeah.
I think that's an important lesson, whether it's family or any other business. The passion comes out, and if the passion's not there, then nothing else is important.
Yes.
Dr. Lee, I know environmental issues are at the forefront of many millions of people. How do you balance business profits and the environment, given that your family business is involved in activities like palm oil and land development, which seem at first in conflict with that, but I know you're passionate about the environment. How do you balance all that?
Oh, John, That's actually a very good question, because in the palm oil plantation, we are talking about a few 100,000 hectares of land. And we have noticed that during the last 5 years, our company has taken a very, very strong policy on what we call ESG goals, And you are right, as a plantation, there is a great impact on water because the soil leaching and it can go into the river. And, that's the livelihood for some of the villages. There's forest fires. And at the same time, when we degrade a lot of waste material, the methane escape into the air as greenhouse gas. So you are right, in this industry, previously, all these are not markers. In the last 5 years, it has been very important for us to make sure that we have very stringent markers ourselves. So if you can see in our public listed company reports, 6 years ago, we have only a one short sentence on CSR. Today is a huge, maybe 30% of our annual report is reporting on ESG. It's so important to us. And we're talking about profits. Just an example, this plantation industry depends a lot on people in the rural area. If we don't give back and make their livelihood viable, then profits will drop because there's no harvesting. I mean, we can see now during this COVID, for 2 months, there were no harvesting. Thank goodness, harvesting has gone back in. Yeah, so there is always this community spirit that we need to be very focused on, because it's not about industry, it's about the community in the industry. So profits and ESG definitely is a big push for all companies now in this industry. No doubt about that.
Yep. And do you do any specific strategies? Do you support various environmental projects, or planting more trees, or replacing, or doing anything specific?
Yeah, so in the company, we have actually an ESG department. So the first thing we need to do is clean up our own house. So we do work with partners who are in green gas. They help us build biotanks to capture the decomposing biomass so that it doesn't become greenhouse gas. So we have biotanks that capture it. The methane is then burned and fed back into the national grid. We have now reduced leaching from the soil by bringing back cut branches back to the soil and then composting it. So there are many things happening within cleaning up our own house. And I think that's the biggest impact. For those who are in Asia, you notice that in the last 2 years, there were no haze.
Yes.
There was a dedicated effort from all the industry members to maintain forest fires. And these are the slash and burn fires that come from the villagers. We have to support them with drawing fire lines, training them in fire, how to break up peat fires, right? So yes, we are engaging partners who help us in our carbon footprint. And most importantly, how to enhance the livelihood of the village.
Yep. Yeah. So it's it's been a fair debate. It's easy for Western countries that have done very well out of the industrial revolution of the last couple of 100 years, just to say, well, we're very wealthy now, but sorry, China or India or wherever it happens to be, you can't do any of those things. You need to get the planet back on space. And I think it reflects in some of the things of things like sweatshops, even in Bangladesh, where people are saying, well, those poor people have got bad conditions, but if they're saying that if I don't do the work, then we've got no food on the table. So it's always a very delicate blend, isn't it?
Oh, I'm glad you are so fair in this, George. And that's what we need to communicate more and do more. Everyone is aware of ESG, but let's put our hands to the job,
Yes. Dr. Lee, as head of BBX Holdings, can you share some thoughts on where you think BBX in your part of the world will fit into global banking, finance and settlement space in the upcoming couple of years or so?
Yeah, John, there were a lot of thoughts on our side on where is BBX going. Definitely is in the transactions space. And all you mentioned, is it in banking, finance, and settlement? Yes, we are all there. But what are some of my thoughts? My thoughts is we have moved away from, a barter, which is basically physical goods, to there were a period, and I think we are just at the tail end of a period whereby we have introduced trade credits as settlement issue. And I think going in the future, the trade credits are between members of the BBX exchange. I think you're also very interested in this, John, that can we tokenize this trade credits?
Yes.
Tokenization means the trade credits can get out of our system and not within the system as in the central ledger, right? I think we are along this thinking line, and we are working with some banks to think along this line. The reason we give is, what is our main value, we say. And the main value is that we actually help small business to look at their trapped capital. When you are a business, you have accounts receivable, but it's yet to come. And yet, on the other hand, you have made a request for a loan to the bank, and it's yet to come. So all these are great cash management is facing all the smallest SMEs, right? So when we immediately says that in BBX, you use trade credit to transact, you are not asking to go for another bank loan. Yeah, you are not exposed to bank repayments rate or interest, but you have increased your purchasing power. And I think that tokenization, you can use a technology, blockchain or crypto, but a token is general. It's more general because we are still not certain how technology will move, although it's still in that direction.
Yeah.
How government regulation will move.
Yes.
Right. But I think we will slowly move there, John, once the government regulations are clearer.
Yep.
And we don't want to jeopardize BBX trade credits by going beyond the sandbox of the government.
Yep. No, I'm fully in that space. Obviously the governments and the people that have the existing power today will be reluctant to give that up, and therefore they'll be insisting on regulation to bring them into their sandbox. So I can certainly see that as the future. Also, what about the unbanked, Dr. Lee? There are plenty of not only just businesses, but very micro businesses, particularly in Africa and parts of Asia and the Middle East, where you really are a very micro business and all you have is a mobile phone. So where's the thought there on perhaps attracting that type of person to the BBX family, or indeed, the vast majority of businesses in the Western world that are just one-man bands, as they say?
Yeah, I think we started off with the concept that BBX is a business-to-business platform. Is there an opportunity to go to a business-to-consumer platform? Yes, everything is possible. So I think with the advent of tokenization, the business to consumer transfer of the trade credits can happen. So it's a very exciting space where we can translate business to business, business to consumer in the usage and free up the usage of the trade credit as a settlement product.
Yeah. So Dr. Lee, COVID and other obstacles, I remember back, and I'm sure you do too, the Asian meltdown crisis back in the 90s, and of course the global financial crash of 2008. How do you, as a multi-billion turnover business, deal with that? Is it some of the same strategies of dealing with adversity that you can't see coming that would apply to a smaller business?
I think the biggest challenge we have is not to be like we say, frozen and not know how to act, right? So quickly the action to gather information from your ground level is what we need to do immediately, and also from the government. Yeah, so that not to procrastinate, and be says that we are striking down with what's the world coming to. The world will continue, business will continue, but it is just in this phase of time. So I see that we have to now prioritize, and as we all know, prioritize what? Manage cash flow, because the banking sector are affected. Other companies who are your bankers are affected. So tightening up cash flow, but that sounds easy, George, tighten cash flow. But again, we did mention ESG. Do we sack people? Do we let people go? So in a bigger company, when we have a bit bigger war chest, we tend to keep staff. Yeah, even though we are not quite sure of the future, but we know that it will turn around sometime.
Yes.
I think financial management is going to be very crucial, and don't procrastinate. If you need to cut staff, you need to, because that's what's expected.
Yeah.
Right? But support them as much as you can afford.
Yeah. I guess I have this saying that there are three types of people in the world: people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people that go, "What happened?" And it's the what happened ones are the ones that you're talking about, get frozen in the moment and don't move left and don't move right, and they get hit by the oncoming truck. So
Yes.
good advice.
And in Chinese saying, we say that in every crisis there's an opportunity.
Yes.
So do you rejuvenate your business? Can your business have another rebirth? It's a time. We have time to do that now.
Yes.
So
and we've seen plenty of examples of that, where people have been a little bit agile and a little bit nimble, not completely changing direction, but doing something just a little bit different, a few tweaks to get the result out, and come out better than what they were prior to the crisis.
Like John Ettridge and all your social podcasts. Very good.
That's it. Dr. Lee, if you're beginning as a sole trader business again, what would you make sure that the one or two or three things that you'd have in place if it was just Dr. Lee doing a venture today, knowing what you know now? What would be the one, two or three critical things that you'd make sure that were evident in the start of your sole trader business?
I would say that it's three things. Like you say, I would call it number one, do you have a mentor? Because there are blind spots in how we see our business plan, right? We call that the Johari window, whereby there are some areas we just think we are all covered. So finding a right mentor to relook at your business plan is important. But what's inside the business plan that's important? What is the core value? So actually, it's just a paper exercise we have to go through, and not rush and afraid that we miss the train. The core values, what's the value we bring to our targeted audience? Be very sure of that. You can't have 10 things because you are sole trader.
Yep.
Right? But the most important thing, I always ask, do you have key partners? Is it your suppliers? Is it networks you are in? Because all this communication to understand why would your key partners and how will your key partners be motivated to help you and how you can help them. So sometimes we go into business alone, and that lonely journey is not fun. I mean, we all, in my younger days, I've done that too, thinking that I know everything. It's a lonely journey.
Yep.
So I always say, but there are people around, there are community around, and we need to go outside and see what we can put on the table. Who are our key partners? Identify them, engage them.
Yes.
Because this win-win equation will always happen.
That's very, very sound advice, and I can see a lot of people will think that that's quite simple, but it's very fundamental.
So it's not technology. It's technology helps you once you know this view. Use technology to tackle your core values, your target audience. Use technology to help you motivate your key partners. But I would say that it's still human face.
Wise words. Dr. Lee, I know you're very passionate about social issues, and I know you're involved with a number of those. Why do you think that's important for business owners, not just in for people like yourself that have had a very successful business career, but why are social causes and forces for good, as it were, why is that important in your life, and why do you think that's important for other businesses, even small ones?
Well, when we talk about social good, if the sincerity is there, all the values come back to the person. Let me explore further. In business, we keep thinking, this is my business network, this is my business partner, this is my business banker. But we forgot behind all these are faces with families, with likes and with dislikes. And I find that when I outreach to just outreach to help lend a hand, need not be or give money or support a cause. And what's important, get to know the people behind it. Because the people behind it eventually, right, will get to know you, that you are sincere, you're authentic. The trust building is so important that people know you beyond what you need to take from them, And you find that some of the best relationship and business ideas, to me, come from my social networks.
Yep.
Yeah, because business networks always think of competition, and they're always guarded. Then how do you create trust in that environment? Yeah, so social, not just drinking. Yes, part and parcel is just social drinking. But at the end of it, when you work together on a certain project and get the result you want, I think then the other person also understand what you're trying to do with your business.
Yep.
So I think it's all very holistic. It's very holistic social work. It's not business work or social work. It's just the community.
It's fascinating, and it's a space I think more of us need to explore. Dr.
Yeah.
Lee, I was reading and I was really intrigued the other day. I saw a little sneaky article that you were involved with this digital Silk Road. Can you just share with us what that was all about? It caught my attention.
I think this, if I were to relate this digital Silk Road to the Belt and Road Initiative from China, right? It is China's government policies to say that how can we recreate the Silk Road, which is a huge transactional trading base in Middle Ages and beyond. That time it was caravans and camels bringing goods from one to the other. But now they are thinking of first, how can we improve the logistics? So you have railways, you have pipelines, and now you have telecommunication satellite. All this is available now. So the digital Silk Road is all about trade. It's all about increasing economies of scale, passing information. And I think, I haven't seen it happening, but I'm sure it will. It will cut off it balance a lot of wealth, because information is not arbitrage now. You want to find the price of anything, a farmer, like you say, with a mobile phone can get the same information. Not all, but at least information important to how you deal with this business. So the digital Silk Road is, Silk Road is actually across the Middle East from China, right up to the Caspian Sea, Turkey, and then up north to the previous Russian Union and Confederate. And it's important because it's all about satellite technology. And China is a huge production house. So it benefits them to have this digital Silk Road because the market is, besides China itself, is out there. So if I look at this US-China, well, I don't like to go into US-China and all the issues surrounding it, but you can see China has a dedicated policy, right, on balancing trade. And in balancing trade, it does improve their, the middle class in China has been the largest increasement from the bottom of the pyramid. So trade is important to all of us.
Yep.
And we see it's communication, sharing of information.
I spent a bit of time in China in 2019, and I was astounded by the infrastructure and the modernisation and of the whole place that's taken place in the last 20 odd years. It was absolutely mind blowing.
So won't you think, John, that this is going to, whatever is the policy of the Silk Road and digital Silk Road is going to enhance BBX?
Yep.
Because, we are all on same time frame in terms of communications. So I think that is, well, personally, I mean, if we look how we impact our networks, it has a big impact. So I'm just asking what is missing for us is how do BBX as a whole, all of us, how do we actually engage a partner, a trusted partner, along all these countries that we never access to? But now we are forced to with COVID, right? We can do Zoom and a lot of virtual meetings. Yep. And I think we need a new strategy for business development into countries.
I was fascinated by an article that I saw that I know you saw Pingduo Duo, if that's how you pronounce it, Pingduo Duo, which is the company in China that started a few years ago, and they're connecting farmers with end suppliers. What a fascinating, it was almost like Airbnb for groceries, cutting out the grocery stores and whatnot. So just some fantastic ideas, and I was astounded by the growth. They'd gone from 0 to like 600 billion of turnover in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's happening in China because China leapfrogged the digital age. All the consumers are having the WeChat money, settlement payment. And because they didn't have to turn their mind to legacy system, straight away, transaction happens so easily.
Yes, yeah, and that was the part. Even if you went to get a can of drink from a drink machine, you just put your phone up to the thing and out popped the can of drink. It was done instantly. It was quite a fascinating experience.
So I think adoption of digital payment system could be BBX is far more advanced in Asia than even America.
Dr. Lee, I know you're a disciple of teaching individuals on how to fish, not giving them the fish. Can you share the process beyond the obvious behind that philosophy?
Hey, John, I have to say that I've changed my philosophy.
Okay.
I believe that teaching people to fish is possible, but it's hard work because whatever you teach them is not in their context. And what you teach them, they have filters. They are in the mind judgmental. Is it true? Is it working? Maybe she's not such a good person because she has so many things positive for her. So I've come away from, it does work, John, but it is very hard work and the results are not quite there. So I believe that to engage people is to tell my own story and be authentic about it. How did I feel in my ups and in my downs, and what did I notice? Because I think in every one of us that we have potential to process if we have that motivation. And we could say somebody maybe like me who can shine a light and say, you can do it, right? Because I'm not much better than you or me. It's just that I have less ignorance, I have more knowledge, right? But you can do it. And I find that in that way, I built more empathy with my business partners And I would use the word empathy and mindfulness, and we are mindful of what we need. And I guess that telling stories of my own is much better than teaching.
Yes.
And I guess, John, I've seen you too. You know, you could what people tell stories of your, successful ventures, your successful members, and suddenly it will spark off something else in somebody's mind, and we don't know what that is. Whereas when we teach them, it's just a finite information, you know.
Yeah, I think that people do learn from stories they relate to, and it probably is a better teaching method. So that's interesting. Dr. Lee, I'm conscious for time, and I really thank you for setting aside some time today. I know you've got an extraordinarily busy schedule. If you have one last question, if I may, if you had your life over again, and hindsight's a fantastic thing, but what would you increase, decrease, or change over anything, or how you've structured what you've done so far? Bearing in mind, obviously, you can't do it, but if it was a magic one.
Well, this is part of my spiritual discovery, John. And I find that, the family I was born in is part of destiny. But I also believe that I don't believe in fate. I can change a lot of things if I work on it. So you're right. There are many things I would like to change on hindsight. But I have accepted that I have done the best I can. In each phases, when I was studying, I moved from medicine to being family business. And then I moved from family business to entrepreneur. That's why I invested in BBX. Right? And I think I learned a lot of things during each of this journey. And if I were to change anything, it won't make me a better person. So I'm quite happy now being a grandmother, learning to be a grandmother. So I think that, yes, contentment is very important to me. I don't think there's much to change, but there's much to reflect what I've been through, yeah, and rethink who am I. And to me, I think I'm encouraging everyone, go back into the self-reflection. We build up our own confidence, our own self-esteem from that journey. And good friends.
That's all very important. Dr. Lee, it's been my absolute pleasure to speak to you today and to have you make a contribution for this show. And I'm sure the people out there will get some little tidbits of information that just resonate with them. And it's great to always have different points of view. So thank you very much for being part of the show today. And thank you on behalf of everybody out there.
John, I really appreciate the question you're asking, because it set my mind thinking again, and I'm going to be a better person. Thank you, John,
Thank
for
you very
the
much.
opportunity.